All right, thank you, everyone. Just to be clear, this is Chris. I'm Joel.
I feel lazy after everyone else that's been up here. We get chairs. But...
Perfect. Yeah, so was there anything you need to correct from Eli's introduction, or were we all good?
No, but you got a sense of Siobhan earlier when she browbeat you into community stuff earlier, and she was the MC at our wedding and told people if they did the clinking glass things that she would cut them. So...
Awesome. So social media from the top. We're going to be talking about how executive directors, CEOs, leaders of nonprofits can really engage in social media. And we have a room full of those people, all of us who are working to do that. And you've probably heard it 1,000 times in the last month, people telling you need to do more on social media. And it's the friend who has a business, it's the marketing communications person, it's the dog walker that you talk to. Everyone's always telling you, more on social media. But we want to dive into this conversation and talk about the real strategies and the tactics that work and what we can really expect to get out of social media. So, Chris, just let's start it off with how is social media a fundraising tool and not just a waste of time? Everyone's posting pictures of their lunch. Mm-hmm. I saw people posting pictures of the awesome waffles that we had here today. But how is it a fundraising tool?
Well, I think the people that are telling you have to be on it, are they also telling you why? Are they telling you that the studies that are coming out that 40% of consumers say that they don't trust a brand unless they can connect with them on social media? CRA lists 87,000 registered charities in Canada. That's 87,000 people you're competing against for your donation dollar. And we look at consumer data and think it doesn't apply to the charity world. I think it absolutely does. Rather than building brand confidence, we're building donor confidence. And it's that ability for people to connect with us. Your social media often is clearly your first point of contact, but frequently your only point of contact with these people. And from the donation side, traditional marketing says you have to see something 8 times before you recognize the brand or the coloring or the tagline. From a donation perspective, that means someone needs to see your organization 8 times before they consider donating. Social media is free. The amount of people that are on it, Canadians are on average on social media 4 hours a week. That doesn't include video, that doesn't include texting, that's just surfing social media sites. So they're on there, why would we not go after them? And so from the fundraising side, people think that, the comment before about they're not getting the ROI in their Facebook campaigns anymore. You can't measure ROI on one piece of content. We all have our elevator pitches. You've been doing that today in your in the coffee sessions. Well, no one's ever bought anything in an elevator. It's the same thing. It's the long-term cumulative effect that is building the donor confidence to eventually pick us to donate to, or eventually decide to increase their donation. And so the biggest success that I had, that Eli had referenced, was we had launched our gala, and we were looking for a big sponsor, and found someone who was looking to sponsor that type of thing, and it was one of my board members that had the connection. And so when I met the general manager of this company, finally had a chance to kind of close everything up, and first thing she's like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm so excited to work with you. Thanks for believing in us and sponsoring us." First thing she said to me, not even hello, was, "I follow your Instagram. I watch everything that you do. That's how I knew that you were the perfect partner for us." We got $40,000 a year times 7 years for our gala. So we got $280,000 because of Instagram.
Wow.
She'd never commented on anything. She'd never liked anything. There's no way that I knew she was interacting. But when the time came to have a conversation about sponsorship, she's like, "You're the perfect partner." Mm-hmm. We found that as well, even with our gala of artists that we were trying to engage to perform at our gala. The first year that we had a gala, we had Serena Ryder. The same year she won a bunch of Junos in February. She played for us in October, and she had started following us on Twitter the year before. So when we approached her, it was, "Oh yeah, I follow those guys, I know who they are," as opposed to who. Mm-hmm. So that first conversation was out of the way.
So to someone who's maybe done some advertising on social media and said, "You know what, it's too much work, we're not getting a lot out of it," what would you tell them? Is it more than advertising? Is it more than that straight click?
Well, you may have seen that Instagram in Canada has stopped showing likes. This has been a big transition. They're testing it out in Canada. Hopefully it means we're moving into the post-Kardashian era. The idea being that they're trying to drive people to create good content for content's sake and conversation, as opposed to how many likes can we get? How can we use filters and try and generate that kind of content? Facebook, again, the conversation before about Facebook, Facebook pages have lost engagement by 15% over 18 months, 50% over 18 months. The new Facebook algorithm is prioritizing family and friends. It's going to show you less of pages and more of your family and friends. So you, us, all of us as nonprofit workers, our opportunity to reach people about our mandate is going to be less reliant through our pages, unless we're going to jack up our advertising. It's going to come from us. This is where they're going to find out about us. And people want the personal stories. People want to engage with you. How many of you have ever done the Scotiabank 5K and half marathon that comes up in June? Bunch of us. If you were to change charities tomorrow, the people that donate to you would still donate to you. They're not donating because they believe in the cause. The people that donate to you to sponsor your running team, they're donating to you. It's the same approach of, if you're a crappy little band, who are the people that love you enough that they're going to buy the CD and never open it? Like, it's the personal connection that we're going for, and it's less about the branding anymore. It's more of the conversation.
So if you're trying to build conversations, you said people donate to their friends and their other people. Can you build that type of community and that same feeling from an organization?
Absolutely. You have to. And that's through the people in the organization. I think it was Nicole earlier today had talked about, it's not just the CEO, it's your volunteers, it's your different people. It's profiling who's in the organization. It's profiling who's the end user. It's profiling who's getting the benefits of what they're giving. It's profiling the media person that may have talked about your organization. It's delivering your message through someone else's voice. And I know a lot of people fight against Facebook, and they fight against Instagram, and they're not huge fans of social media. They want to get away from it. But that's where the people are. And it doesn't matter if you're right. It matters if you're understood.
And for the executive director, the CEO, they're quite often the face of an organization. How do you feel like they should be involved in social media? What role should they play in that?
They should be part of it, both as an independent brand themselves and as a content strategist within the organization. To just have the intern run that doesn't have the same impact as having the person that's in charge. Think in terms of bands. People love the Foo Fighters more because Dave Grohl is hilarious. Anyone who's ever seen Jan Arden in concert knows that the stories she tells in between the songs are way funnier and more entertaining than the songs themselves. And if you don't think that the brand of the person is important, I mean, look at Kanye. How many people like Kanye less because of who he is as a person? And if you doubt the power of the influence of the person behind the brand, how many of you have had lunch at Trump Tower? Like, not many. And the personal side, and as myself, I posted something a few months ago about, just went through my own Facebook feed last week, about shark finning, asking friends to sign the petition for shark finning. This was right after the Sharkwater movie came out. Seems like a pretty generic thing to ask. Most people believe in banning shark finning imports into Canada. And I got like 12 likes on it. Then I posted a picture of my daughter. Sam, have you got that? Oh. And I got 10 times the likes on that. Take that, Vu. So people want to have real conversations, and I had a pretty low barrier of entry asking for someone to sign a petition. I wasn't asking for money. I posted a photo of Abby, and comments and likes went off the charts. It's having these conversations in between the ask. The ask is buy tickets to our gala, support our annual campaign, donate at Christmas time, whatever sort of program month you may have. In between those, that can only be 10, maybe 20% of your content. The other 80 to 90% is just got to be conversations. And this is what keeps people engaged. You don't post photos of my daughter, please. But similar content to keep people engaged for when you do have something important to ask them. And that's usually the donation.
So you mentioned a two-pronged approach, a personal brand as well as getting involved in the organization. how do you see that, the executive director getting involved in the organization account? Do you see them actually posting through it, or do you see them just influencing the team, inspiring content?
Yeah, the same way that you would prepare for a major donor meeting, prepare your social media. What is it that we're going to try and do? What's our collective voice? Are we going to be cheeky? Are we going to be funny? Are we going to be serious? Are we going to be really conservative? Are we going to be hyper-local? What is that voice? And the CEO is too busy to do every tweet, but to help design that voice and then potentially run parallel with their own channel. The new CEO of Lululemon, Calvin McDonald, I think his name, I started following him, and he looks really engaged. His personal feed is him going to stores, and it was so great to meet the people in this store, and perception's reality. Like, he might be a jerk. I've never met the guy. But looking at his feed, he looks like someone that's completely approachable to his staff. He looks like a nice guy. He looks like someone who cares about his staff. Lululemon's had a lot of bad press the last few years. This guy looking at his feed makes me like the brand more. And there's a charity in town, and I won't say who it is, who the executive director or the CEO is on LinkedIn. I don't follow them on Instagram. I don't know if they're on Facebook. But I watch her LinkedIn feed, and I find the organization's feed to be quite sterile and lots of facts, and it's always asking for something. Her feed is full of gratitude. Thank you to this minister for coming to our big event. Thank you to our volunteers. It was so great to meet this person at this event, and thank you so-and-so for hosting. I'm a fan of the org. I want to work for her. Like, if a job opened up, I believe in the org, and it's one of those kind of orgs that we would all get and all appreciate, but understanding the personality behind who drives it, I'm not on a Scotiabank running team right now. If she asked me to run for her, I would do it in a heartbeat. She hasn't, and there's no reason she's going to hire me, but I want to. Like, I want to be a part of what she's doing just from watching her feed.
Do you feel like the size of the organization matters in terms of how a CEO should get involved?
No, I think it matters more the demographic of who you're trying to reach. The average Facebook user is 39. The average Instagram user is 19. Someone joked about Snapchat before. That's an even younger audience. Who are the people you're trying to reach? Your donors and your prospective donors, people you want to donate, either because you're reaching into a new market or it's a younger generation that might be into volunteering that you hope transition into donors when they get older, targeting where they are. They're going to decide where they're listening. That's up to you to reach them.
So if you have an executive director who's becoming the face of an organization, using their personal brand to spread that message, spread that word, is there a risk in them leaving the organization? Because I had someone ask this before, and they say, we don't want our staff to be posting on their own accounts, because if they start getting new followers for their own accounts and they leave the organization, then we've lost all touch with their followers, and we want them to build value for our organization instead of their personal brand. If an executive director leaves an organization, do you feel like there's a lot lost?
No, I think it's a great problem to have. I mean, we all date up, right? Like, every time we date someone better. Otherwise, we would just date the last person again. Like, well, if your org gets better because of your personalities and those personalities leave, you're going to attract better people. And you're going to continue to move up in that way. I see that with yoga studios. Like, no, we don't want to advertise the different teachers because we want to make it seem like every class is the same and they can trust it. It's like, build them up. And if they leave, take credit for the fact that they grew through your organization and you become more famous because of their success. So I don't think holding people back. If you've got someone with personality on your team, let them run. If that's aligned with the brand and the voice that you've decided to put together.
Yeah. So question for you guys is, how many of you have left some of your or all of your social media to an intern, to a new employee, or to someone who's just started or volunteer? How many of you have left some of your social media to one of those types of people? Let's see. Yeah, it happens. And I think there's definitely some risks in that. And what do you think the risks are of doing that?
Well, you wouldn't send an intern into a major donor meeting. You're doing the same thing when you're letting someone who's brand new run the account. After you've gone through the strategy and after you've figured out this is what our voice is, then it's okay to get them to do certain tasks, and kind of anticipating the next question of when do you use these people, the most fruitful way is to create evergreen content. And evergreen content is that stuff that's going to be valid throughout the year. Sign up for our email list. That is just as valid any day of the year. How many times a year do you want to ask for that? That answer is probably going to be different on different channels. It might be twice a year on Facebook. It might be once a year on Instagram. It might be monthly on Twitter. Well, when we ask that, we got to pick a photo. So let's go through, here's a bunch of content. These are the kind of images we want to use. Sign up for email address on these, and then go schedule them. Use Facebook Scheduler to figure where they're going to go. Use Hootsuite for Twitter and for Instagram, or whatever scheduling software you want to use, but they're local. Having your intern create evergreen content, I used to do it with quotes. You know, Music Heals is a charity for music therapy. So we understand that our followers were music fans. So finding quotes from famous musicians, I would just go and find 50 quotes, give them to the intern, go and see if you can find 50 images of these people. We're totally stealing copyright by doing this, so don't put our logo on the photos. But just find, you know, an image of Bruce Springsteen with some negative space, drop in his quote, and we have 52 quotes. Do one a week and post those out. So having them focus on that content generation, the stuff that you don't have time to do, you know, walking around your site, taking a bunch of photos, having volunteer day, taking a bunch of photos. Don't post all those photos on Monday. Schedule those out. You got 12 shots, great. You got one a month talking about just the volunteers. So the interns can be fantastic for creating that. And the questions before about outsourcing, you can outsource your video content. You can outsource the photographer to come in for a day, but people want more real. You know, they're trying to get away from the polished look on photos. Your phone is what people want. You know, if you've ever watched an artist do a cover song from their bedroom on YouTube, why is that popular? The sound is crap, the video is crap, but they got the same Bob Marley poster on their wall that you had when you were a kid. So the reason why those home videos of them doing a cover song are popular is it's personal, not because of the quality of it. So the power that's in your phone to take photos and videos, that's all you need now. And the technology officer for Facebook is saying that the next transition they expect is stories to surpass your wall. So Instagram stories has been kind of taken over from Snapchat. Facebook now has stories. For years, they said always take video with a horizontal so that it plays better on Facebook. Now, more people are looking at social media on their phones, which means a visual video or a vertical video is more likely to be seen than a horizontal video. We were trying not to shoot vertical because it looks crappy. That's what people want. And it's quicker and it's easier. And with stories, you can take greater risks with your brand because it's only up for 24 hours. So worst case scenario, you post something that someone's not going to like, it's gone. Your story, your wall is much more your strategic content. Your stories, let's take a risk. Hey, we're out at this event. Let's take a bunch of videos and post those up. It's something cute. It's easy content, and that's the next step that seems to be coming.
Yeah, and I think what you're alluding to is collaborating too between different people and in the organization, whether it's the intern, whether it's the executive director.
Totally.
Trying to find out from different perspectives, really. And when you share that personal view, it's sharing different perspectives of this is my view of what's happening from the back of the room or from the front of the room, and sharing that story in a variety of different ways through your organization.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I like that. So if you know, an executive director wants to start on social media, or even if they have social media and they've been doing it for a little while, but find it really hard to be like, I don't know what to post today. I've had no breakfast. I've got nothing to post. What would you say to them to help inspire some ideas?
Lower the barrier of entry. No one wants to see your sandwich, but it's a conversation. You know, I come from the music world, and it's a cool post to have someone like take a photo of their shoes, like listening to the new mixes of the new album. You know, to go into a music store and have a musician post, should I buy the red guitar or the green guitar? They already know they're buying the green one, but they're creating conversation. And then 6 months later, there's a photo of them in the studio with that guitar. And then a year later, they're performing live, like, I remember the day you bought that. You know, it's that connection point along the way. So it's a conversation. Don't worry about marketing. If it's worth sharing, it's not marketing. And stuff that's worth sharing can just be the trials and tribulations of your day. It can just be the small sponsorship. It can be celebrating that with, someone in the office had a kid. Like, these are people want the personalities behind the organization. They trust more. They will give more.
Mm-hmm. And really, you were saying something about the word social media before. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
I find people get it wrong when social media, they put the focus on the second word. Focus is on the first word, social. It's got to be a conversation. It's got to be back and forth. And the risk of outsourcing, again, using bands as the metaphor, if you follow an artist that you love, you can tell when they don't run their own account. Because all they're talking about is their tour dates and whatever else. Where you get someone who is a fan or is active and is running their own account, you feel connected to them. So whether you get in an online fight with someone or whatever it is, like it's that one-to-one connection. It's Twitter today is the letters to the editor of what we had years ago. It's your direct line of communication with somebody.
And how do you see? You mentioned Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. They're largely for. You want to think about the audience of who's on that platform, but how do you feel is different with how an executive director should be participating in each of those different platforms? Do you see that it's different across different platforms?
Again, it depends on who your followers are. Yeah. I think, Instagram for a lot of people and Facebook might be photos of their kids. So they don't want to be really public with that. LinkedIn, it's a business opportunity. It's open. It's your chance to share things that aren't photos of your kids. If you're brand new, you're going to try them all and see where your traction comes from. But it's asking people where they found out about you. It's asking what their first point of contact was with you. And that'll inform where you're going to put your energy on each channel going forward, and which ones maybe you drop because they aren't working.
Yeah. And I know a lot of organizations also have limitations to them too, right? Mm-hmm. In what you feel like you can post, or what, based on regulations, you might actually have limitations. How do you feel an organization can get around some of those limitations?
I've met people today who work with vulnerable populations. You can't post a photo of the recipient of your organization's work for obvious reasons. People are just as interested in the lead up to that. So we had a day where we were doing, getting photos of a music therapy session at Ronald McDonald House, sick kids and their siblings, and the music therapist had lined up 6 ukuleles in 6 different colors. That's my shot. I don't need even the back of a kid's head. Like, that's it. We're at Ronald McDonald House today, getting ready for a music therapy session. Here's how the population they serve. Here's an example of what music therapy does. I don't need to show a kid. There's a lot of things that I can do to generate conversation without ever having to post someone's face that's a vulnerable recipient of who we're trying to serve. Yeah. And if you really need it, you can hire actors. We did that once at Children's Hospital. We faked a shoot. We got one of the healthcare workers who brought one brought their son in and one brought their daughter in. I'm like, we need to create some campaign images. And so there were 2 kids that weren't sick. And their parents were cool with it and signed off on it, and they believed in the music therapy program we were funding. And so we brought in a photographer for a couple hours and just shot a whole bunch of content in one day, which gave us a year's worth of stuff to use.
And how do you feel about talking about photos, stock photography? Does that work for social media at all?
People will see through it eventually.
Yeah.
I think stock photography works for your website because that can be expensive. Lower the barrier of entry. It doesn't need to be scary. Like, it can be really, really simple. People want real. They don't want polished stuff anymore. We're getting away from that.
And so, if we're talking tactical, would you expect an executive director to be taking photos themselves on their phone? Like,
I expect everyone to be taking photos. Yeah. If you've got an org of, you have an org of 50 people, each contribute one image, you got a year's worth of content. It's not just the CEO, but it's everyone. And if the CEO should be, again, helping with the strategy of what it is we're trying to achieve, what is our voice. Once we stick to that, people get it, those people that are running it can run with it. But a lot of people work in organizations that don't have a marketing department. It's everyone's job at the table to try and figure something out.
And how do you see organizing that together with technology, or just simply texting the photo? Like, what's the best way to organize that type of collaboration?
I find Google Drive is the easiest.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, should we be posting the same thing across different platforms?
Not on the same day. If you're posting the same thing on every channel on the same day, why would I bother following multiple channels? If you've got a great piece of content and you spread it out, sure. But if you're posting everything the same on all your channels the same day, I don't need to follow all your channels. I'll come off a couple of them.
Yeah. And do you feel like you can't, like, if you're posting the same thing on multiple channels, would you change it? Would you tweak it?
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, make it seem a little fresh.
Nice.
Yeah.
So as for making this really tactical, if someone's going to take away, come tomorrow, and get back to work and really start implementing some of these new things and be more involved with social media with their organization, what would you suggest? Where would they start?
Just understanding first and foremost that we're in an attention economy. This is the buzz term. This is what we're working right now. And the risk of not talking is that no one knows you exist. If you're an organization that serves a population that other organizations also serve, and you get funding from, say, the government or for one source, and funding gets cut back and they have to stop funding one of those 4 organizations, the one they're going to cut is the one that's the least visible. Because that's the one that's going to get the least blowback by cutting them. Again, perception is reality, and that's what we're working with.
Yeah. Awesome. You have any other tips you'd like to share?
We're getting flagged with a couple of minutes.
Maybe if we want to open up to a couple of
Sure.
questions, if anyone has any, I think that'd be awesome.
See one back there. As far away from the microphones as possible. You can tweet me the question.
There you go.
Thanks, Eli. Hi.
Hey.
So I guess you could say that I'm a general manager or ED of my organization. And I know this is important, but I am scared bleeping about posting stuff online because I don't know how it's going to be received by my target market or my community, because I'm kind of afraid of it being misinterpreted or going the negative way. What's some advice that you might give to me or to my team members that I'm also afraid of when they post, giving them access to post, what might happen?
I think you have to define who your target market is. And as an org, not knowing your org, you would have to get together and are they someone who's going to find things funny? Are they going to have people who have no sense of humor? You pick your audience. And some people say you don't pick your audience. Like, for those of you that have ever used a dating website, if you're a woman with 6 photos and 5 of them are you in a Canucks jersey, you're picking which guy is going to contact you. Like, you pick your audience. So understand who you want to reach, and the content you're delivering is to reach that audience, whether it's your identified current donors or we're switching. We want to bring more of this generation in. We want to bring more people from this geographic region or whatever that is. But it's reverse engineering from who is the person we're delivering that message to. I don't know if that helps. It doesn't? Let's chat right after. Okay.
Any others?
Hi. So I have colleagues that keep telling me Facebook is dead. We need to stop using Facebook. We could even delete our account tomorrow, and that would be great. But I feel like there's still a couple years in Facebook, and that maybe people are just using it differently. But I'd really love to hear your thoughts.
There's over 2 billion people using Facebook. It's free. Again, Canadians are spending 4 hours a week on just social media. Yeah, maybe a couple people aren't there. Most people are. Like, the amount of energy you're going to put into direct mail and everything, that's free. Like, and they're there. Like, why would you get away from that? I don't understand. Yeah.
Hi there. Just wondering whether you find policies important, looking at social media strategy, and specifically for using pages, information out, but also user terms of use policies and maybe admin and moderator policies if you're looking at groups and discussion groups on Facebook?
I mean, I'm in a few groups. I've been in VU's group, if you've ever been in the ED happy hours and things like that. And groups are important now. Once you've identified those followers, if you can get them into a group, you can talk to them even more. You can build, instead of building followers, you're building leaders. which is great. I don't know, I'm more of the idea of like they're adults and just, I'm in groups where the admins I find are way too busy clamping down on things when like these are intelligent people having great conversations. And one recent one was a nonprofit conference in Alabama, and should people be boycotting it because of the recent law changes down there. And it was fascinating because it was here I am in Vancouver with my opinions, but it was people in Alabama going back and forth, and the moderators wanted to shut that down. I'm like, this is my best chance to get exposed to this conversation. Please don't shut this down. So I'm more of particularly in a group, let it run and see where it goes. And let that be part of the voice. So.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Chris. Let's give it up for Chris.
Thank you.